Okay, hello, hello. Thank you so much for being here. We have Key here today, and Key and I actually met in a very unconventional way. We were both actually, we were both, we were both at the right place or the wrong. We were at the wrong place at the right time, the right place at the wrong time. I don't know. It was,
Right.
yeah, we
Whatever it
literally
was, it was perfect.
it was perfect for us because we've actually really not been able to like connect too much since then. But I'm so glad to have you in my corner as an amazing like female resource, an amazing female advocate. Everything that I found out about Key after I met her, I was like, oh, it's all clicking now. Why I felt
Right.
so like accepted when I met her. And the the short version is that we both went to an Afrobeat concert. His name is Oxlade, and we both were there just like enjoying the night. And then we were both pulled on stage to like do a dance with him, and like it was just anyways. I was like super not confident in the moment, but she just was with me and just made me feel super comfortable. And anyways, so being able to connect with her on social media after that funny meetup was really special. And honestly, it was such a special moment because you were there doing some training for,
To be a flight attendant, yeah.
yes, a flight attendant. And then like, so
Mhm.
you were literally there at, like in the most random place at the most random time. And I happened to be able to enjoy you that night.
Right.
So anyways, so we've
And
known each
and
other.
you know what I remember about that night that was so funny is how we were dressed exactly alike. We had
Yes.
on almost the same exact thing.
Yes, but like
Like
with my little style and with your little style. Like we both made
yeah,
it
exactly.
the same basics. It was we were both wearing like black little skirts and like black little
Hmm.
tops and cute little heels, and you had a cute hat and like belt with fringe on yours, and I had like feathers on my skirt and a silver
Yeah.
choker. And anyways,
Mhm.
that's so true. I
Yeah,
forgot about that.
we were in alignment. We were in alignment for sure.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, we were. So, okay. So before we get going and I have Key introduce herself, I just wanted to start by saying this week's episode is one I really hope to have so many more conversations about because growing up in a very religious home and then continuing on with different beliefs and practices, this is a conversation that is so needed, and it's an ever evolving conversation, but it can tend to be created to be a sidebar conversation, but that, you know,
Right.
female advocacy is something that can be a sensitive topic. And so, for whoever the listeners are that are tuning into this episode, I just wanted to bring some awareness before we start that we are talking fully about womanhood and everything that that umbrella holds. So there's sensuality, there is embodiment, there is self-worth, just learning about yourself and the body and how to advocate for yourself. So if that doesn't feel like the right episode for you, then you are welcome to tune in at a different time. But if you are here with us today, we ask that you listen without judgment and lead with curiosity, because that those are the best tools to be able to receive from these types of conversations. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so with that being said, Key, please introduce yourself and just give us all of your goodness.
Yes. So first, I want to say thank you so much for having me. I really, really am so grateful for, what you're doing and also your interest and your openness to the work that I do as well. Um, I am, my name is, first of all, my name is Lakia Gums. I am a mother of two teen boys. I was a young mom, so my journey has been full of lessons. It has been full of trials and triumphs. Um, it has been a great training ground for personal development, if you ask me.
I love
So, a lot of what I practice, a lot of what I do comes from a true journey of embodiment and not, necessarily textbook knowledge. Although I read a lot, it is
yeah.
real life. Real life has shaped my art for
I
sure.
love And so
Yeah.
obviously anyone who's watching this needs to know immediately where you are right now and where you're from. So let's start there.
Mhm. Yes, so I'm from the Virgin Islands. I'm so sorry for those of you that are watching that are in the cold. I really wish that you could be here. I'm from the Virgin Islands. I am currently in St. Croix. I'm set up on the beach by my parents' house. It's truly a blessing. I don't want to show off, but I feel blessed for sure.
Good. I'm
Yeah.
obsessed. So let's dive into where your journey starts of you creating your own life, right? So we go from like being a child and whatever our dreams and hopes and the aspirations that our parents have for us, and then at some point we begin to make our own choices that we learn have consequences, whether they're positive or negative. And sometimes we don't realize where we're at in between the two, but it sounds like you and I have a similar journey of bringing children into this world a little bit younger. And I would love to hear about what was going on in your world at the time. And, for anyone that is a younger mother, I know we can all probably feel the same thing about some of those feelings of inadequacy or anxiousness and excitement
Right.
and questioning and all of it. So take me there.
Yeah. So when I became a mother, I was a teenager. At that time in my life, I had just moved back home. I actually spent 9 years out of my adolescence in Houston. So I was fresh, like long removed from the Virgin Islands. It was a total culture shock to be. I didn't have the connections with people that all of my peers had with each other because they basically, the island is really small. They grew up together. Everyone grew up together. So I didn't have that. I also, um, dance was my love. I was a trained dancer from young, and moving home created a void when it came to dance.
Mm,
But it was a move that my mom had to make. She made that decision for all of us, and sometimes you don't have to control over the changes in your life. You just have to flow with it. And at that age, at such a tender age, you kind of don't know how to deal with change. And then
mm,
my brother died. So my brother, he was visiting home. He ended up dying on vacation. I was
mm,
16, and that
mm.
kind of just changed the trajectory of my interests. Like I didn't care about. I was a great student, super smart. I really liked school. But that changed. That changed everything. I started skipping school, and at that time, you're not really aware of. I think sometimes in the midst of things, we're not really aware. If we're not aware,
Yeah.
we end up making decisions that have long-term repercussions. We end up making decisions that we don't see in that moment are from an unhealthy place. And so at that time, I was skipping school, and I'm just thinking, oh, I'm smart enough to, I can make that up. I'll make it up. I can make it up. But it became a habit every day because I was just avoiding. And skipping
Mm,
school, obviously, one thing led to the next, and I met a boy, and I got pregnant. And so it was a time where I didn't have. My mom was a single mom
mm.
working really hard to take care of all of us, so I had a lot of free time on my hands too. And yeah, that was the beginning of my that threshold between being an adolescent and having to step into adulthood, and realizing that your choices have real consequences.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, it
Wow.
was it was it was definitely a challenge for sure.
Yeah, I can imagine. So tell me about what what tell me about like culture in the Virgin Islands. Like how is that accepted? How are you either brought into the culture or excluded from the culture based off of being pregnant early on? Did you feel supported? Did you feel like you had the correct mentors and women in your life of, knowing that this is who you wanted to become as a mother? Did you see yourself even having children when you were younger? Tell me about all of that.
So how I I I didn't see myself having children when I was younger. I was very focused on being a dancer. being an entertainer. I love acting as well. So I knew straight out of graduation that my intentions were to go to Juilliard or a performing arts school of some sort. I had a few opportunities on the table for modeling. I had things happening for myself, and so I think um, in my immediate circle there was a lot of disappointment from the adults around me, of course, namely my mom. Um, yeah, there was a lot of disappointment in regards to that. And I think she herself struggled with how to handle this. Because because one, the community is small, and I know that whether it's in your face or it's behind your back, there's a lot of talk and gossip and judgment, because it's a small community, and we have a we're from a very judgmental community too. And so whereas I feel like back in the day, people more so stepped in and said, "Hey, you know, what's going on? How can we help?" That's not really the case anymore. Not as much. It's like every man for themselves kind of thing. And so um, I know she faced a lot of judgment amongst her friends and her immediate circle. I felt alienated at the time because my classmates were graduating, everyone was moving on. I felt like I was one of the failures
Mm,
that got pregnant, because my morning sickness is horrible. It's like, it's, I feel like I'm dying. It's
yeah.
horrible. I get extremely dehydrated, kind of pretty much bedridden. I can't keep anything down for months, like not even water. It's really, 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 really bad. And so I couldn't keep up in school. My mom gave me she left the decision up to me. She said, "You can finish your exams, and you are gonna have to make this decision whether you're gonna keep this baby or you're not gonna keep this baby." And that was a scary choice for me,
Mm,
because for me, I was like, well, I'm keeping the baby, obviously. I feel like it happened for a reason. And my parents, my family, a lot of people were against that decision, but I just felt like that was the decision that I had to make. And I know that they were against it out of fear and and just wanting what they felt was best for me. I know it all came as a shock, but that was the first time I think I had to really stand up for what I believed was right in the moment, for myself. So I definitely felt isolated, felt alienated. I felt like a failure. I felt um, guilty. I felt a lot of negative things, but even in the midst of all of that, I felt this hope. I felt like this faith,
mm.
because I knew that this had to happen for a reason. I didn't know if it was my brother that had some sort of that was, I didn't know what it was, but I knew that it had to be happening to me or for me for a reason. And so that kept me going.
That's so beautiful. I resonated on so many different levels with pieces of that, of feeling that shame and that disappointment from your mother, also just
Yeah.
from the community around you, knowing that there's conversations going on that you're not a part of that hold lots of judgment. I remember, yeah, people trying to ask me how many weeks I was, and I knew that they weren't really curious about how many weeks I was. They wanted to kind of do the background math of when she got pregnant and trying to,
Right.
backwards
Yeah.
track. I felt a lot of that. And I'm with you. I was so sick, and there's just it's amazing how you forget so that you can
Yeah.
have more babies. But oh my gosh, I'm with you. I couldn't even stand up I couldn't go to the grocery store, couldn't go
I couldn't
anywhere
do anything.
without
Yeah.
throwing up and making it, yeah, a mess anywhere I
Yeah.
went. So, oh, so many things to connect on there. But tell me more about what it was like for you being parented by your mother as you're about to be parented, as you're about to parent a child. I've never thought of that.
That was that was a power struggle. That
Yeah.
was that was a power struggle. Like, as I think back on it, it was really a very um unbalanced dynamic because in my mom's eyes, I'm still a child, and essentially I still am.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, we all go through this, whether you have a baby young or not, we all go through this funny stage because I'm watching my teenagers go through it right now. I'm going through it with them, where you are coming into adulthood, right? Or what we're conditioned to feel is adulthood, what we believe 18 is the threshold, now you're an adult, you know what I mean? And so as we step into this adulthood, or even our energetic adulthood, right? As we step into this, we kind of, it's a challenge to figure out how to respect authority, but also make decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
Also stand your ground with how you feel for yourself. And so that was a really interesting dynamic, and with my mom, because I still behaved like a child in certain ways. So she still
Mm.
had to treat me like a child in certain ways. But in my mind, I'm 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 an adult. I'm a mom. I'm doing this, respect me,
Yeah,
you know,
totally. Yeah,
respect me, but it wasn't from the right place. It wasn't from a mature place. So it
sure.
was a struggle. It was a struggle. And I think my journey through adulthood is what made me reflect on that and realize, like, I wish I listened more. I wish because I'm
Mm.
rebellious. I can be rebellious. And so, I at that time I just rebelled. I didn't stay long. I went out on my own and stepped into the real world, and so that deepened the
Ooh.
plot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, my first question was gonna be, how is your relationship with your mom today? And my second question was gonna be, why do you think that families have that child that is rebellious and what creates that? Because I'm just resonating with you on so many levels.
So my relationship with my mom today is beautiful. She's one of my best friends. She's my diary. We have a good relationship, and it doesn't mean that we don't have our differences
Yeah.
and our challenges, but I think my commitment to growth and my commitment to my family, as well as my mother's growth as well, has really made room for a lot of healing, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was the other question you asked me?
Why do you think families have these rebellious children? Like what is
Oh,
the point of it? Why are some
yeah.
kids so good and others they're not
I
good.
I'm
They just have
I
a different
I'm
brain.
I'm a firm believer that the rebellious kids came to break chains. I feel
Mm,
like the rebellious kids came to heal the broken parts, or whatever broken parts they are assigned to. Like, we can't do it all, even though we may want to. We can't do it all, but the rebellious ones, I feel, are here to heal. And sometimes healing comes with, when you pour alcohol on a cut, it burns first. Sometimes healing comes with a little bit of resistance, or it comes with some grit, right?
yeah.
And those rebellious ones kind of bring that grit and that realness to the bloodline. Like, this is, we got to face this, and you're going to face it through me.
Yeah, it
So yeah,
alivens it. It brings to
yeah.
life things that are supposed to be in the shadow or under the rug. And they're like, no, let's clean what's under the rug.
Let's right. Yeah, yeah. This
I
is not okay. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I definitely resonate with that. Do you feel like
Mhm.
you have a rebellious child?
I do.
Okay.
I
And
I
what
feel like I feel like both of my kids are rebellious in their own ways. One is more upfront about it, and the other one's more quiet about it. He's just like, well,
oh,
I'm not going to verbally defy you or disrespect you, but if I
I'm
don't like your
sneaky.
rule, right? If I don't like your rule, I'm gonna just do what I do on my own time.
That sounds like my two children. That's so funny.
And the other
Oh,
one is
and
very vocal about it. He's just very like, but why? Like, I don't understand.
yeah. And
So yeah.
what would you say are like the tips to parenting rebellious children when you have that in you and you understand it and you have a little bit of that compassion?
For me, and this is all just like a school, right?
Yeah.
I'm still learning myself. But for me, what I would say is what has worked for me is really communication. You know, they might not hear you today, they might not hear you tomorrow, but one day they're gonna hear you and your voice becomes ingrained in their subconscious. So I think it's really, really, really important. Okay, actually, let me backtrack.
Please.
Let's first start with accountability. We cannot face our rebellious children if we are not willing to be accountable.
That's so powerful. Yes. You
If
can't
we're not willing
connect
to, you can't connect. If
because
you're
they
not
already
willing to
know.
face yourself,
They already know what you
they
did.
already know. They already know what you did. They already have read, they see your patterns. They know who you are just as much as we know who they.
Mm.
And so a lot of times, I think parents try to parent rebellious children from this authoritative place.
Because they're
And
so
while,
scared of their children. I think that's
right,
why. They have so much
yes,
fear that they
hmm,
double down on extra dominance, which pushes them farther.
further away,
Yeah.
exactly. And because I know that didn't work for me, because if
Hmm.
you tell me go left, I'm definitely going right. Because
Yeah. Just
I'm
because you
definitely
said
gonna,
so.
just because you said so, you know. And it's and
Yeah.
it's not a, it's not until like, you know, recent years that I
Yeah.
started realizing like, okay, like you can't be rebellious just because, you know, just because like it's gonna come to your detriment
Mm.
sometimes, you know. In my late 20s, I came to that realization. But um, you know, I think parenting a rebellious child really comes with a lot of facing yourself and being okay with the things that you see and the things that come up so that you can heal it with your child, especially as young moms like ourselves. A lot of times we're learning life with our kids. They're growing up
Yeah.
with us. And
Yeah.
so, you know, our best form of connection is transparency, it's authenticity, it's
Yes.
vulnerability, it's accountability.
Yeah.
Because we're evolving, you know.
Mhm.
So yeah. And
Yes. I.
it gives our children the safety to do the same thing in front of us.
Yeah.
Make mistakes, take accountability,
Yeah.
apologize when necessary, be aware of themselves. It gives them the safety to do the same thing, because if they see us running from ourselves and
Mm.
not able to face ourselves in conversations with them, then they're going to do the same thing to us, you know.
Yeah.
So
Ooh, that's so good. Okay, I want to come back in a second to what you said about you had an awakening in your late 20s because my
mhm.
question goes in line with that. But before we go there, I wanted to ask you if you grew up with like a religious background.
So I did actually. My my mo- my whole family is Christian,
Okay.
you know, whatever denomination, that kind of varies. But my family is Christian. Um, my father is Rastafarian,
Mm-hmm.
with Christian background, obviously,
Okay.
and my mom has evolved to be more free. I think she always has been, but she went through quite a bit of years of being a devoted Christian, and it
Okay.
was a really confusing time for me.
Mm. Tell me
It
why.
was a really confusing time for me.
Yeah.
Um, because some of the some of the teachings I felt, and it could have been the church, it could have been, there's a number of things it could have been, right? But
Good.
some of I felt like the scriptures sometimes contradicted itself. There wasn't a good explanation. I couldn't grasp, and some of the things I still don't grasp.
Mm.
Um, but at that time, there was just this deeper feeling, and it could be that diehard inner rebellious rebellion,
Mhm.
right? But there was just this deeper feeling that it wasn't the only truth.
Mm.
That's the best way I could explain it, that it wasn't the
Okay.
only truth. And so I was always like in Bible study, like, but you know, and asking the questions that were kind of like, be quiet. just have faith,
Yeah.
you
The
know,
the questions
just
that other people won't say, but that you're like,
won't
well, until it's
ask.
answered. So
Yeah.
you're reminding me now. You know how you can like take different like personality tests and it'll
Mm-hmm.
give you some type of like what you are archetype. Um, I would love to compare all ours on so many different levels because like just the more you talk, the more that I literally hear myself in you. Um, but I there's this one specific one called Clifton Strengths, and I had to take it for work.
Mm-hmm.
So this was not supposed to be like an
Mm.
interpersonal like moment for
Yeah.
myself. It was literally just about how I operated at work. But
Yeah.
he, it came back and it told me that I was the challenger. And I just thought that is so introspective in my personal life with my children, with when I'm trying to date, like the ups and downs that I have with people is that I don't try to like be difficult, but I like to ask questions and I like to think about the fully other side and the other options and think about why somebody else might feel opposite. And it's almost like because I have so much compassion,
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure everyone's included or something. And so I like to challenge
Exactly.
and I like to have a really deep rooted why instead of, well, we just made it up
Yeah.
and it sounded good. And I can't, it's like I
Yeah.
have a really hard time respecting people that can't really explain themselves. It's really hard for me.
So
So
yeah, so do
is,
I.
okay.
Because then I feel like then I feel like your perspective is rooted in your conditioning and your dogma, and you're not speaking to me from a real, like after a real place of introspection. You know, if
Yes.
you can't explain thoroughly and draw reference to facts, or draw reference to something tangible, if you can't,
Yeah.
then like you said, I have a hard time respecting it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
y- yeah, I actually took a test like that. I'm not sure if it's the same test or it's like a rendition of it, but I took a test something like that, and mine came back as the disruptor.
Yeah.
And
That
it makes perfect sense
makes
because
perfect sense.
I can't, like you said, it's not. Sometimes I even try to shy away from it because I'm like, I know if I say this,
Mm-hmm.
I
I'm gonna
know
lose
if
my
I
job.
say this, I'm gonna piss somebody off.
Yeah.
I know if I say this, they're gonna think I'm trying to come for them, or
Yes.
and really I'm just showing you another perspective.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you, because my perspective doesn't have to be the only one,
Hmm.
but we can look at this from multiple, right? Or so yeah,
Yeah.
I'm definitely a disruptor. I can't help it.
Yeah.
I've actually accepted it now.
Good. I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. I feel like we pretty much got to my question. I have a million more. So tell me about like yes, this little inner knowing that you came. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to like clarify that you didn't have a rebellion stemming from like a religion. You just had a rebellion that was even deeper than that. It was just like born and bred into you that this is something that is challenging, but you're going to work through it and create some type of alchemy with it where you can use it for the good and be able to use it to strengthen others is what I'm getting.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
That's exactly it.
Love.
Yeah, it wasn't, there was never a rebellion to a specific thing,
Mm-hmm.
it was always just, I came here to disrupt. And
Love it.
so there's a rebellion to anything that wants me to conform. Like there was anything that wanted me to conform to like a closed way of existing.
Mm.
I rebelled. That's what I would rebel against.
I
And
love.
so, and when I was younger, it was bad
Sure.
because just rules, authority. There's this challenge with authority, and um, as I grew, I realized the challenge with authority comes from respect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't actually have a challenge with authority because I understand the need for order where it's necessary, but respect
Mm-hmm.
because, but
Yeah. I
yeah,
hear it.
definitely
Okay.
rebellious by nature.
I love it. Okay, so tell me about yeah, your later 20s and whatever it was that happened that kind of brought you some more clarity of like who you are and what it is that you're creating in your world and um And with that, tell me about who you were, whether that's 5 years ago, 10 years ago, a prior version, an unevolved version of Key, and who you are today, and like what it is that you love most about this growth that you've seen yourself go through.
Sure. So in my later 20s, and I'm not gonna tell you guys my age now, and I'm just kidding.
She's,
But
you look 19, so it doesn't matter.
that's how old I am. But in my later 20s is that was the beginning. I remember just feeling angry with myself. I It was a pivotal point because I stopped blaming other people for where I was
Mm,
and for what transpired in my life, and for what has happened, and for the decisions that, I started getting angry with me
mhm,
because I wasted so much time blaming other people.
mhm,
And it's not because there were, other people's decisions didn't affect our lives, like what we spoke about, my mom moving us home, and changing my entire environment, or you know my kid's father is not being present, or these things that, yes, people do have an impact on us, but what parts of us attracted us to these experiences, right? What parts of us needed to learn lessons from these experiences, and what parts of us need to take accountability for how we got to these experiences. So, and it was in my later 20s that I started that my focus shifted inwards, and the grieving process started with anger, I think, with me.
mhm,
Well, that's at least that's when I recognized it. I was angry with myself, and so, but but it's, in retrospect, beautiful, not because I should have been blaming myself or beating myself up about it, but it was a part of the process to get me to where I am now at 19 years old,
mhm,
and and I feel, I'm grateful that the process even started where I shifted the attention inwards, because some people never get there, and
mhm,
now the Kia that I was at that time, you know, um, very emotion when I say emotionally unstable, I wasn't crazy or chaotic. It was very calm, but it was easily disturbed. It was easily thrown off balance. Like if something, an inconvenience or a shift happened in my life, I would totally fall apart. Like I would be in shambles, And now it's like, I swear I'm not numb, but I'm detached, not from caring, but from reacting. And that brings me so much peace.
mm,
I have so much faith that nothing can shake me. Nothing. I think the only things that could shake me right now, I don't want to think about, which is like the unthinkable,
yeah,
but which, like something happening to my child. But
yeah,
other than that, like I don't I can't think of anything that can shake me now, because I'm so rooted in feeling safe within myself, because I trust myself, because I've gone through the process of learning to listen to my intuition instead of ignoring it, which
mhm,
is what led us down a lot of paths,
right,
I learned to stop people pleasing and choose myself, and ensure that, you know I'm safe and I'm comfortable before I make sure that another person is, because I was such a horrible people pleaser. It was really
mhm,
bad. Like I would shut myself down entirely. I stuffed down so much emotions, so much stories, so much pain, so much betrayal, because I didn't want to confront it with another person.
mhm,
And that is not the Kia that is in front of you today. Not at all.
yeah,
And it's never chaos. I'm never good. I never confront things in chaos or anything like that, but I know how to advocate for myself while allowing another person the room and the space to be honest, be authentic, make mistakes, be themselves as well. So yeah.
love. Everything you just
Mhm.
talked about was so powerful. I love it sounds like your little Saturn return around 28, that you start doing all of the self accountability. And sometimes I
Mhm.
wonder if I would be, actually, I know I would not be the woman I am without my children holding a mirror in front of me every single day to look at. And
Mhm.
I think a lot of the beauty of mothers is credited to the children, whether they're on best behavior or worst behavior. I think um, they really
For
do
sure.
inspire us, and it can be a lot
Yeah.
of tough love. And I know motherhood can create a lot of like, what's the word? Just self doubt, but also, oh, what's the word? Just like overthinking things that don't need to be overthought, just because
Yeah.
you want to be the best
Yeah.
version of yourself for them, and that always starts with working on yourself, not doing more for
Mhm.
them, but just working on yourself.
Working
So
on yourself.
I love that. And I
Mhm.
love that you also brought up anger, because anger is a real emotion in motherhood as well as
Mhm.
in
Yeah,
single motherhood.
for
Um,
sure.
have you been a single mother the whole time? How old's your oldest?
He's 17, and I know I haven't been a single mother the whole time.
Okay.
I've had a partner that has been, that helped. We're not together anymore,
Okay.
but I did have a partner for a period of time. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
But you are like the single motherhood grind. Tell
For
me,
sure.
tell me where in your journey did you start realizing that you had this deeper passion for womanhood and for advocacy and embodiment, and what does embodiment even mean to like the average listener, and being able to bring in pieces of sensuality and taking care of your needs before lessening them and quieting them down, and like tell me about this whole world that you created that I now get to experience through knowing you, but the
Mhm.
average viewer might not know all of these things about you.
Yeah. So, I can't say that there was necessarily a specific moment or situation that made me aware that, embodiment and women and femininity and this entire, paradigm, right? That it was this like that like this is it for me. There wasn't a moment. I think I remember what I do remember is being like around 7, 8, somewhere between 7 and 9 years old, and I had like a that's so Raven moment in my bedroom,
Yes.
and I came back and I just knew I wanted to help women. I didn't know what that was. At what When
Wow.
I was a little girl, I was like, well, I want to be a teacher, and I knew I always saw myself surrounded by a lot of girls, women,
Yeah.
but I never knew what it was about. For me, I just always loved dance, acting, and I wanted to do the creative thing.
Yeah.
But it's it's embodiment. It's an entire journey. You can't embody something until you fully have stepped into it, until you fully actualized it, until you understand it. And so this art, this business, this lane, this is my life, this is my true real life. Like I said at the beginning of this, it wasn't any sudden epiphany, but s- my experiences, the experiences of the women around me, coupled with my passion for them,
Mm.
just open those doors. It opened the doors to the education. It opened the doors to me desiring to do the deeper research, and then I got downloads of information. There was a period in my life, what year was that? That was 2016, was the real beginning of me. That was when the work that I had done thus far at that point, I knew I needed to package this somehow and help other people because I needed
Mm.
help. I still had
Okay.
needed help. And I think I was reaching for all the people, all the women that need help with this single motherhood journey, with this journey of feeling disconnected from your body. You don't even know if you have the time to tend to your body because you have you have to tend to your kids. You have to tend to your home. You have to tend to your career, whether that's entrepreneurship career or a 9 to 5. You
Mhm.
know, you have to tend to pleasing other people because as women, that's what
Are
we're
made
supposed
for.
to do, right? That's what we're made for. We're made to please everybody else. And
Yeah.
so I, I really saw the plight, the generational plight of so many women. I felt it. I felt it in my body. I felt the anger burning inside me, not even just for my own situations, but for other women. Like I would get
Mhm.
legitimately enraged.
Mm.
And so that passion just like, Kia, you have to do something with it. And bits and pieces of information just downloaded to me over the years. And, it slowly became a business and it slowly formed into, I was able to find the the happy place between my gifts, my talents, which is that my sensuality, my dancing, my communication, my writing, my visual, my creativity, etc.,
Mhm.
and merge it with my passion. And now I'm creating a business where I'm able to create a safe space for women and men who are on a journey of embodiment, who are on a journey of sensual awakening, spiritual awakening, and really stepping into their higher healed selves, their
Mhm.
embodied selves. And so I'm really excited about it. I'm very, very happy, to be able to do this.
I mean, I agree with you. It's so rare that you meet someone who can actually turn their passions into a full-blown business that is operating from a place of passion and love. And I just think that is so rare. And so I just wanted to celebrate you in that you've done that and you've created that, and to please never
Thank
stop,
you.
because that's not an easy thing. And
Thank
I
you.
want to talk to you about, I first want to talk to you about more about embodiment and why you think people are not embodied and what their hangups are, whether it's a spiritual internal battle or whether it's a mental block with their external environment. Um, let's just start there, actually.
Okay. So I think it's a number of things. I think it begins with fear, and whatever that fear is planted from, whether
Mhm.
it may be your religious background, it may be your strict upbringing, it
Mhm.
may be your small island community. There's a lot of there's a lot of uh glass ceilings that are put on us from the
Right.
time we're born. Think of toddlers and babies. They're embodied. They are fully themselves.
Mhm.
they have not had a single soul tell them who to be, what direction to go, how to
It's,
experience the world. No one
yeah,
told them how to experience it. They're just stumbling
doing it.
through and doing it and
Yeah.
experiencing it and instinctually surviving it, right?
Yeah.
Obviously with parental protection, but they're doing
Yeah.
that. And so,
Yeah.
but but we get told, no, don't do that. No, don't go there. No, that's not good. And so we're being
Mm.
conditioned from very young on who to be, what's safe, what's not okay.
Mm.
And and some of us are unable to see past that conditioning. So it
Right.
starts with one, the awareness, right? That maybe I was brought up in with a dogmatic environment, in a dogmatic environment that didn't allow me the freedom to explore my own thoughts, right? The
Yeah.
freedom to explore my curiosity about myself, about the way I think, about the way I experience the world, and using my five senses. We're told how to do it, and some of us don't allow ourselves to break past what we're told. And
Yeah.
then the second layer to that is when you do realize, right, that there's some things to break past, you
Mhm.
have to be willing to dive in. This is the shadow work, right? You can't be embodied, and soft life doesn't come from lighting candles and
Taking a
drawing a
bubble
bubble
bath.
bath.
Yes.
Right. Soft life comes from literally going through the depths and the shadows of yourself and emerging, arising, rising up, am I using the word right? But
Yeah.
yes, rising, right? And
Yeah.
you will never completely slay what's in your shadow. You embodiment is actually learning how to what's the word I'm looking for? How to uh what's I'm looking for a word and it's not coming to mind. But embodiment is really learning how to bring your lower self, your shadow,
Mhm.
to your higher self, right?
Mm.
Finding that merge where your primal self is able to operate with through your spiritual enlightenment, right? So I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm explaining that well right now,
No,
but
I agree with you. It's like helping the shadow and the higher self hold hands, because I think
right.
when I think about where I struggle with human relationships, I think I struggle because my world is so externally, like, oh, her life, like, from the average person's like dialogue, right? Her life fell apart. She has two kids. She's a single mom. She's been a single mom for
Yes.
6 years. Oh, she can't, men don't like her, that's why she's still single. Or she's picky, that's why she, like, you can hear what everyone else is saying about you. And so I really, really, really connect with real authentic people that
Yeah.
own their worlds as well, because until you have
Hmm.
a conversation with me, you actually don't know anything about my
Don't
life.
know anything.
You're putting a narrative together based off of what you're externally seeing. You have no
Exactly.
clue. And I
Yeah.
love when people just talk about their life versus trying to hide that shadow, keep that shadow in the basement, keep it
Exactly.
in a locked box. And
Exactly.
you only get access to the higher self. Like, it's just, I cannot with
Yeah.
those types of people. I struggle so
Yeah,
much.
it's so disconnected, it's so
Mhm.
disconnected from real life, from the real world, from our real experiences as people, and it's unrelatable. So I agree with you. I can't really
Yeah.
take that. I don't enjoy that type of company either. If I can't be my full self, because
Yeah.
I'm a very transparent and vulnerable person, just naturally. I don't
Yeah.
feel afraid of I don't feel afraid of being vulnerable. I am not afraid of being transparent. I'm not afraid of calling myself out and saying, damn, like I could have done that better, or I wasn't a good friend in that moment, or I wasn't a
Mm.
good mom in that moment, or
Mm.
these things that we all truly have to
Are. We
experience and
we
and
all
and
are.
and, and
Yeah.
have to learn. Like, we're not meant to be perfect. We're meant to have a human experience and
Yeah.
really allow ourselves to evolve, because as we allow ourselves to evolve, as we take that accountability, as we accept the things that come up to our awareness, right, come into our consciousness, and learn to transmute that energy, then
Mhm.
we allow ourselves to be a light to other people that are
Mhm.
also going through the same things, or that are trying to figure out how to overcome this, or that just want to feel accepted as they go through this certain season in their life. They want to feel that love and that accept that understanding, and so I don't do well with people that are not comfortable being transparent or being vulnerable or being themselves, being authentic. It makes it really challenging for me to build a relationship.
And
I
and
mean,
sometimes,
we can be cool, but I wouldn't
yeah.
be able to build a deep relationship with that person,
Yeah. And sometimes
Yeah.
I wonder if they have more shadows in the dark than other people, because it's like, what is wrong with being so human? What's wrong with being an
I
open
think
book?
they do. I think
Yeah,
they do.
I
I
wonder.
I don't want to cast judgment, and so this is definitely a blanket statement, but
Sure.
I do think a lot of people that cast the most judgment, or have to present themselves in a certain way, have the most shadows
Inner
they
judgment.
have the
Yeah.
most inner yeah they have the
Yeah.
most inner judgment, they have the most inner challenges, because they're carrying that's a lot to carry.
Yeah.
Perfection is a lot to carry. i
That's
i
true.
i couldn't carry it.
That's
I
true.
couldn't carry I don't ever want to carry it. I don't.
Yeah.
Perfection is really a lot to carry. nothing's perfect in nature, and it's the most and nature is the
It's
most
setting
beautiful
yourself
thing.
up
And
for
like,
failure. Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
You're
And so
not gonna.
and to take it back to um our shadow, right? Our us integrating. There we go. That's the
Hmm.
word.
Okay.
Integrating our shadow with our light, right?
Yeah.
So this I was, this was again my late 20s was like it was a season of so much information to prepare me for my 30s. So I was in my late 20s at this time too, and I was working as a concierge at the Ritz-Carlton in St. Thomas. And
Good for
this
you.
guy, he I think he was just like an angel that was sent into my club lounge because I was working in the club lounge, which was like on the far end of the hotel, and he didn't belong in there. It was the lounge that was for the, the higher tiered guests or whatever. He didn't really belong in there, but he was just I didn't even care that he was there. Something in my spirit was just like, whatever, let him in. I let him in. And he sat down with me that day, and he brought me shells from the beach. They were all in the shapes of hearts. He brought me
Mm,
flowers. And this guy had no he had no interest in me. His
yeah.
sexual orientation was not for me at all. He was
Yeah.
just super sweet. He was not trying to flirt with me, nothing. He was just, he must have felt me because I was going through it.
Mhm.
And so, and then he sat with me and he was like, I can see your colors. Like I see your aura
Mhm.
colors. You're so beautiful. And he started speaking to me and he was like, and he said, but you're angry. He said, you're
Mhm.
angry about something. And it was so funny because didn't I tell you in my 20s, it was
Yeah.
when my anger towards myself started happening.
Yeah.
And so he said, this was the first time I heard this metaphor or this explanation for it. And he said, anger, our grief, our sadness, our rage, our emotions are, think of them as little people, and they're there to protect us from the
Yes.
experiences that they expect us to go through again. They're there to protect us from the danger that they sense, right? And
Mhm.
these emotions are created through life experiences. And so a lot of our life experiences create that wounded shadow. It creates that wounded feminine or that wounded masculine.
Yeah.
And so we have to that was I think the beginning point of my ability to start integrating my shadow with my light and realizing my anger
It's
isn't
for you.
here to,
Yeah.
yeah, my anger is here to be an alarm system to tell me where I'm feeling neglected or where I
Mhm.
feel a lack or where I'm feeling hurt by something. My anger is
Yeah.
here not for me to respond to, but for
Or to
me to
push it
become
down
aware,
farther.
right,
Yeah.
or to push it down further. It's there for
Yeah.
me to become aware of what I need in this moment, right? And
Yes.
so I was
Yes.
able, that was the beginning of that shift. I was able to start, and I'm sorry it's getting dark, so I
It's
know
okay.
the visibility is going to get a
You're
little
okay.
bad, sorry.
You're okay.
But that was the beginning of my ability to recognize how I can use my shadow and
Mhm.
my emotions to bring me into higher consciousness, higher
Yeah.
awareness of myself. And that was just that was a pivotal point for me, that conversation with, and I never saw the man ever again. He disappeared into the
Wow.
shadows to never be seen again.
Just to
And
teach you about
he
your
never has,
emotions.
just to teach me about my emotions. And I am so ever grateful for that man. Like I really
Oh.
am. Yeah, it has been such a great journey of being able to not only now recognize it, but the next layer to that was learning to communicate it without attacking another person because of how I
Sure.
feel in the moment, or without hurting another person because I can be sarcastic when I feel hurt, or
Hmm.
without. So there was just a lot of layers to the journey of embodiment,
Yeah.
but
And we never fully arrive.
we never
Yeah.
fully arrive. It's actually not a destination. It's a
Yeah.
moment by moment presence,
Yes.
and that's what the body language is about. Body language is one of my companies. It's my somatic healing company, where we do
Hmm.
our sensual dance classes and our embodiment coaching. And that's, so, and that's that's a part of, that's a foundation of it, of embodiment. It's presence. Be present with yourself. Be curious about what comes up for you, right?
Yeah.
Don't be afraid of what you see. Allow yourself. There was a point in time where I didn't have any TV. This was me already as a mother. I had a TV, but it was literally all I had was a DVD player and a couple kids DVDs. And so the kids owned the TV. I didn't have like a good working cell phone, definitely not one like the smartphones we have right now. And so
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time in silence. I spent a lot of time in
Mhm.
isolation. I spent a lot of time with not a
Your
lot of
thoughts.
distraction.
Yeah.
Yeah, with my thoughts. And so sometimes people ask me, well, how are you able to be so free? How are you so confident? How are you so this? And I always think back on that time where I had no choice but to face myself. There was no TV
Mhm.
to distract me from my thoughts. There was no Instagram and cell phone, and
Mhm.
I didn't have a lot of the outlets that I have now, or that most of us had then. I
Yeah.
didn't have it. For whatever reason, I didn't have it. I Even where I lived was completely isolated in the bush in St. Thomas, and so
Yeah.
there was just so much of this alone time with me, myself, and God, and my kids, and that kind of, sometimes we fight against the forces of nature that are like isolating us, but it's happening for a reason. And if we allow ourselves to go through these seasons, then we are literally opening ourselves to the experience of embodiment.
Mm.
We are allowing ourselves to be present for what we're supposed to receive in that moment, for
Yes.
what's supposed to come up for us in that moment and at that time. And so embodiment and sensuality is nothing to do with what most people hear when they hear sensuality, which is sex. It is
Mhm.
everything to do with presence. It's everything to do with surrendering to how we experience the world and experience ourselves and experience this journey through our senses, including our spiritual sense, right?
Mm.
So yeah, and
Girl.
like you said, it's not a destination,
Yeah.
it's a journey. The journey is just enjoy it.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up, that sensuality is bigger than sex, but also just the beautiful coupling of being embodied throughout your sensuality versus times
Hmm.
in many female lives where you are going through the motions for your partner, taking care of your
Yeah.
partner, not sure of your body, not sure of what you should ask for, not sure of how to advocate for yourself. Maybe you don't even like the experiences that you're having, but you're a female and you know that you need to perform for your partner. There's all of these layers of conversation that I'd love to get to.
Yeah. That's a really, really, really beautiful question. And I love this. I love this question because I actually have um a really good friend of mine. She's family, but we met like as friends. And she's 10 years older than I am. And when we met, she was very timid. She wouldn't even go to the beach without being like fully covered to go in the
Mm,
water. She needed to break into to get in touch with herself or be comfortable with herself in a lot of ways that I wasn't even aware that I was helping her through. And so
mm,
I have quite a bit of experience with being a doula or ushering people through that embodiment, including
mm,
older women. And it really, it I would say that that internal scan of where when you start to get those negative thoughts about yourself, right?
mm.
We have to become aware of our thoughts because our thoughts are things. Our thoughts are not who we are.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
they're just things. They're
Hmm.
things that we can either do something with,
Conditioning.
or we throw it away. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thoughts are conditioning, right? And so I think the beginning of every embodiment process it's awareness, right? And so really just sitting with ourselves, we have to allow ourselves the moments, the times of peace, isolation, and solitude to come into that awareness.
Mhm.
And then we have to step into our courage,
Mm.
because the if we can be as aware as we want to be about all the things that hold us back or make us unhappy or keep us uncomfortable. As a matter of fact, most of us are, a lot of us are aware, right? We may not
Mhm.
be there's layers to our awareness, but a lot
We
of
will
times
just talk
we
all
know certain
day.
things, right? but
Yes.
but exactly, we'll talk all day, but we
Yes.
lack the courage to now advocate for ourselves. We lack the courage, right? And
Yeah.
we don't have, and that courage doesn't have to start with confronting another person. That courage starts with talking to ourselves about it, with
Mm.
surrendering to it and accepting it within ourselves. Like, you know what, I do not like this.
Mhm.
You know what, this makes me uncomfortable. You know what, I do need more of this, and I inherently deserve more of
Yes.
this, right?
Yes.
I don't have to prove myself to feel like I deserve it. I don't have to show my worth to another person. It's
Yeah.
really a reprogramming that we have to go through. It's an inner boot camp, so to
Mm.
speak, that we go through, or that we have to undergo in order to really, at any age, in order to step into that embodiment. And it takes a lot of courage, and courage is not the absence of fear, it's the overcoming of it. It's the
Mm.
doing it anyway, right? You know,
Mm.
I
Girl, you are
started this.
you're just spitting so many good one-liners. I'm just like, where's a notebook to write all this down? Yes, keep going.
Yeah, so you know, it came to the point, I came to the point within my own life where um I was aware of all the things and all, you know, but I recognized that I didn't want to confront it though. I didn't want to deal with the repercussions of confronting how I feel with this person. Or I didn't have the tools, or I didn't think I had the tools to have a successful conversation with this person in particular. Or,
Mm.
you know, and so it it we have to have a radical courage, and a radical self-love, right?
Yeah.
This has to be this radical self-love, um a
Yes.
self-love that cannot be shaken by another person, your love for another
Opinion.
person,
Yes.
right? and
Yes.
and 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 stepping into that, it really takes a lot. And you can exercise that courage step by step, you know, step by step, with little things, you know. I don't like when you do this. When you do this, it makes me feel this way, you know.
Mhm.
And do it with your voice shaking, because
Mm.
when you do it with your voice shaking, eventually you start to lean into what you're saying. Eventually you start to accept that, well, I've said it, and here we
Mm.
are, right? Do
Mm.
it anyway. Use your throat, use your voice for yourself
Mhm.
anyway, right?
Mhm.
Do it scared, do it nervous, do it uncertain, do it
Until it's
anyway.
confident.
And as
Yes.
until it's confident. Sometimes recreating ourselves looks messy. I remember when I first started advocating for myself, because with my in my first relationship with my son's dad, I was quiet. I didn't speak up for myself until it exploded, right?
Mm.
In the
Yes.
relationship after in the relationship afterwards, I didn't let anything slide, because I was like, well, when
Never
I
again.
didn't speak up, things would explode. I would end up in this chaotic situation, you know, and still not being heard, et cetera, et cetera. So in this one, I'm not going to let anything slide.
Mhm.
I'm going to point out everything my intuition sees and knows. And I
Mhm.
pointed out everything, and I confronted everything. And I was dealing with a person that was a gaslighter, and he was
Mhm.
manipulative, and he was all of these things that, regardless of my right my courage, regardless of my acceptance of my intuition and my inner self, it didn't matter, because he still didn't allow me to feel validated by that. I was gonna say the next layer to my lesson was realizing that my intuition and my needs didn't need validation from another person.
Right.
It doesn't need validation. When I would call him out on things, or I would notice things, or my intuition tells me things, or I know things, or I feel certain things, or I desire, or I need things, and I express them, and he denied it, invalidated it. He gaslit me, he manipulated me,
Mhm.
whatever, all the things, right? Even in that courage, I still was broken down because I was seeking validation for the things that I needed. I was
Mhm.
seeking validation still, right? And so once I realized that my needs don't need outer validation,
A stamp
my
of
intuition
approval.
doesn't need outer
Yeah.
validation. Yeah, it doesn't need a stamp of approval at all.
Yeah.
um Once I stepped into that acceptance, I was able to really embody uh that courage from a very calm and peaceful place, because I'm not looking for approval. I'm not looking for, I don't need anything outside of me to make me feel safe and secure.
Yeah.
And so, yeah,
I'm so
it's
proud
it's
of
it's
you.
definitely a journey.
Yeah, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of like the strength of your mind
Thank
and
you.
your resiliency to push through what's best for you based off of your intuition. I was going to say one of my
Thank you.
favorite quotes, I don't know who the quote is by, but it says something along the lines of, why are you so fixated on getting their acceptance when they are so focused on never seeing you or something to that effect? It's like
Yeah.
they're going to intentionally choose to never see you. So then why would you ever waste another
Yes.
bit of energy on pleasing
Ex
them? Yeah.
exactly. 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 Sometimes we are so hell-bent on trying to be understood and accepted and loved and seen by people who are committed to
Yes.
misunderstanding us.
That's it.
They're committed to it.
That's literally the
Yeah.
quote. You just said it. You don't even know the quote, but you just said
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Okay. Okay. See,
Yes.
when you said what you said, that's the quote that I
Yeah.
heard. So yes,
That's
they're
the one.
people are committed to misunderstanding us for their own convenience, because when we
Mhm.
start to learn our boundaries, when we start to speak up for ourselves, when we start to advocate for the things that we need or the things that make us uncomfortable, the people that benefited from our silence no longer are
Yes.
benefiting. And so
And they're
they have
scared.
to they're
They
scared. They
deflect.
have no
Yeah.
choice. They have a choice. They can either lean into it with you,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And try to understand you, which a lot of people don't,
No.
or they can deflect from it and gaslight you and make you feel like, you
Yeah.
know,
It's you.
you're
It,
you're you're delusional. It's you. It's the problem is
yeah.
you. You're asking for too much, or you're trying to
Undeserving.
change.
Yeah.
You're trying to change, and
Yeah.
and so
They want to
yeah, a
keep
lot
you
of
here.
times
Hmm. When do you feel most beautiful?
I feel my most beautiful when I am caring for myself. And I don't just mean the beauty tips and tricks. I mean truly caring for myself. When I'm making the hard decisions to stay disciplined to the things, to my commitments. When
Mm,
I am making when I'm making the hard choices to stay disciplined to my progress. I feel the most beautiful when I am committed to myself. It I feel empowered. I feel beautiful. Um I also feel the most beautiful when I'm authentic. When I'm
yeah.
authentically myself. I feel like my beauty just kind of just radiates out of my pores. Um when I'm being true to myself,
Mhm.
and I feel the most beauty in the world when I am present with it, when I'm not judging it. And same with myself. When I'm not judging myself, but I'm observing myself, and I'm accepting myself, I feel the most beautiful, because myself, just like many, if not all women, we have something about our physicality that we're like, I
Yeah.
could have done without that. Or God,
Yeah.
why'd you give me this? Or
Yeah.
why didn't you give me that? Or, these things that, and that's a whole other topic in itself, the journey of
Let's do a part two
bodily
sometime.
acceptance.
Let's
Let's
do
do
it.
it. We
Yes.
definitely are gonna
Okay.
do it.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay. I'll
let's do
write it
it.
down.
You know, yes, let's do it. But just so many of us I know as women, we go through this journey of accepting our body, and I feel the most beautiful in my body when I am not judging it and I'm
Mhm.
observing it. And I love my mommy pouch, because I'm like, do you know what I had to go through to
Yeah.
to get this? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you know the two beautiful human beings that I have brought into this world, the consciousness that I brought into this world? I did that,
Yes. Yes.
and so that observation of self, and then accepting it and not judging it based off of other people's or the outside world, whether it's the internet or your mom or your dad, or your dance teacher who told you were too fat, or your modeling coach who told you
Mm-hmm.
you were too short, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? And I don't judge myself from the conditioning, but I observe myself and I accept myself, because from a place of presence, from a place of embodiment, from a place of acceptance, and so I feel
Yes.
my most beautiful in those moments when I'm very present, and just observing myself, and leaning into what comes up.
So good. Okay. My last question is for anyone listening today who may feel disconnected from her body and doesn't necessarily know all the tools and tips and tricks to become embodied and to be able to perfectly self advocate for herself, either solo or in a relationship, what might some beginner tools be for her? I heard that you say earlier body scan, and I love that. Um, what else might
Hmm.
you advocate for?
I think mirror work is a really, really underestimated and powerful tool. Mirror work is a very simple practice, um, but it does something for the psyche, and it's as simple as standing or sitting in front of a mirror,
Mhm.
doing some breath work, which is taking some deep breaths, and just observing your breath. Don't judge it. Don't try to change it. It'll naturally change as you observe it. And bring yourself to center. And during mirror work, you speak affirmations, right? So, and I'll use myself as an example. There is a period in time in my adulthood. This is, of course, after becoming a mother and just being on this journey, before this my embodiment. I did not like what I saw. I didn't feel beautiful. I felt worthless. And
Mhm.
so now I didn't really know anything about mirror work. I just did it instinctually, and I learned about mirror work actually years later. But I stood in the mirror and I repeated to myself for days, for probably weeks, how beautiful I am. And I did not believe it at first. At first, it felt
Mhm.
so uncomfortable. I cried as I said it. Like, I didn't understand. I didn't even know why I was doing it. I just felt like
Mhm.
I needed to do that. I needed to look myself in the eye. And in all my features, I needed to look at what I saw. And I needed to shift and reframe the narrative. I needed to shift my paradigm. And so that reflection in the mirror is a powerful shift in your paradigm. So repeating your affirmations for as long as it takes until your psyche believes it, until you see it, until you until you start to step into it. Because before I knew it, I wasn't doing the mirror work anymore, and I felt beautiful. I can't tell you when it
Mhm.
happened, but before I knew it, it
Therapy.
happened. But that's what it took.
Wow.
It took consciously shifting the paradigm. It's not going to just shift if you don't consciously make the decision, right? And so mirror work is a really, really, really great tool to affirm ourselves and to actualize in real time, what we want, the paradigm shift we want to undergo, and really, starting that embodiment work. It's a powerful tool. I love
So
mirror
good.
work.
I love. So what I'm hearing is um, someone who may be struggling on this journey needs to figure out the hand holding between self love, self care, and embodiment, because it sounds like they basically go hand in hand. And the more that you pour into
Yes,
your self love, then the more that you begin to feel embodied. And then that can then shift into more conversations around your sensuality and showing up authentically and showing up transparently, and then stepping into more courageous things like advocating for other areas of your world. And it's all
absolutely.
rooted in that self love and self care and embodiment.
Thank you. That is absolutely it. That is absolutely it, Ella.
Mhm.
It's this beautiful symbiotic ecosystem of self,
Yeah.
and to bring it back to something you spoke about, in terms of a lot of your listeners are Christian based,
Mhm.
or have a religious background, and I want to say, I say this with the least judgment possible. I have no judgment, no no negative feelings or anything towards anyone in any religion, on any
Yeah.
walk of life. i I discern people by their character, not
Yeah.
by their religious
Beliefs.
background, or
Yeah.
I judge people by their, yeah, by their who they are. And so
Mhm.
I just want to say that, right? But something I think I appreciated about being on this journey and stepping away from religion so much was the amount of responsibility it put back on me,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Because it was the spiritual journey became such a personal journey, and it wasn't
Mhm.
one that was very
Paved.
it wasn't one, yeah, it wasn't
Yeah.
paved. It wasn't a, I didn't have a set of rule books to tell me, the direction to God necessarily.
Mhm.
I found God in every circumstance, and I always led me back. It started and ended with myself, right?
Mhm.
That connection to God started and ended with myself. And so um I really honor this spiritual journey a lot because of it. I
Um,
really, it's something I truly, truly appreciate, because um it really calls for a lot of accountability. It
yeah.
does.
That's
It
why it's
calls for
called
a
an
lot of
awakening.
accountability.
That's
Yeah.
why it's, yeah,
Yeah,
that's why it's called an awakening. It's I went through
for
my
sure.
own one as well, so I fully understand creating your own rule
Yeah.
book of beliefs and what you're okay with and not okay with, and creating those own
Yeah.
standards for
And
yourself.
and what
And yeah, go ahead.
right. And what resonates with you from what doesn't resonate with you, because I don't, uh correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't feel like God made us all to be the same, to go to have the same understanding, or to have the same journey, or to experience the same things, or to come to the same conclusions, because
Yeah.
what would the world be, right? And
Mhm.
so with that, that 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 journey of awakening is truly a personal one. And some of the decisions that you make, or some of the epiphanies that you have, or the things that you embody, may not be agreeable with other people because of their journey, or because of
Mhm.
their perspective, or because of whatever it may be. They may not be in alignment with you, but it doesn't mean your truth does not
Yeah.
resonate with somebody, right? It doesn't mean that your truth is not meant to help someone, and it may not
Yes.
be in alignment with the billions of people on the planet, because I
That
don't
one.
think we were meant to be the exact same as every single person on the planet, right? And
Mhm.
so for me, the journey of spirituality, and it being such a personal one, is something I resonate with, because I think we all are here to be ourselves, and not necessarily, and decide what is good or bad for us based off of our own relationship with God, you know?
Yeah. I think God is a very playful person. I think that's why God made waterfalls and rivers and ponds
Right.
and lakes, and there's a diversity between all of them. And that's why he made the mountains and the valleys and the shadows and the forests.
Oh,
Like there's so much diversity even within nature, and letting that nature reflect to us
mm-hmm.
why we have
Exactly.
what we have. Like food for thought. And I love this fact.
Mm-hmm.
We are the only existing creature where our boobs do not go back to nothing after we have our babies, whereas like a deer is able to breastfeed their little baby deer and then they're gone, right? It's like we have parts on us that are literally
Yeah,
meant to be played with and enjoyed with.
definitely agree.
I'll leave it
I
there.
oh man, I definitely agree. You know, people don't understand. You said your body is to be enjoyed, and I'm so glad that you said that. And I know we can just talk all night, but I'm so glad
Yeah.
that you said that because our bodies are to be enjoyed. Our bodies pleasure is it's that's a prayer.
Mm,
Our pleasure is like a prayer. It's like exalting God. I
mm,
don't God you know, it's there's this thread of connection between our spirituality, our creativity, and our sexuality. And
yeah.
they're
Braid.
all derived from
Yeah.
the same frequency,
Yeah.
right? They're all derived from the same frequency. And so whereas a lot of times, even in religious conditioning, we're taught to kind of put a cap on our pleasure, on our sexual
Totally.
pleasure, especially
Totally.
and especially as women, because that's
Yeah.
just
Have
uncharted
fun,
territories.
but not too much
Um,
fun. Procreate,
but
but only
not too
within these.
much, and make sure,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right, and make sure that your fun is only at the validation of
Yes.
a man.
Yes. Don't. Mm-hmm.
Otherwise your fun is promiscuous. Otherwise your
Yeah.
fun is wrong and it's frowned upon, right? And so we especially as women, but I think in human nature as a whole, because men not as much as we do, but men do stuff down desires as well. But
Yeah.
I think as a whole in human nature we stuff down our desires, and especially as women, we were never taught that pleasure was okay for us. Our
Mm-hmm.
pleasure was supposed to be for a man. It's
Yeah.
for us to please a man. We might get pleasure from it, we might not, but as long as he's pleased, we're okay. And we've gone through as women generations and generations and centuries of stuffing down our pleasure,
Yeah.
um, as to not offend men, as to
Yes.
not
Make them
have
uncomfortable.
men face, to make them uncomfortable, because as women we are very complex. We're
Powerful.
more
Yeah.
complex than men are. We're complex and we are powerful, and our
Mm-hmm.
pleasure and our pain creates surges,
Mm.
right? Our pleasure and our pain creates surges. And
Yeah.
so do it that what you may, but when we are able to tap into the fullness of our pleasure, we are able to manifest and create magic in
Yeah.
real time. And so it's really important that we are able to tap into our pleasure, that we are able to reach that frequency. You
Yeah.
know, it's important to our bodies, it's important to our spirit to not stuff all of that energy, keep all of that energy suppressed into our bodies. We have to release it, you know, and
Yeah.
pleasure is to be experienced. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, and lastly, like God created the female anatomy for a
yeah,
reason, with certain parts of the female anatomy that are there on purpose. Everything about your body is created
exactly.
on purpose to be explored with,
On purpose.
someone who genuinely takes
Exactly.
care of you and respects you and exalts you as a gift to that.
I we could talk about this all night, but we're gonna do part two for sure.
We
We
have
have
to.
to. We
We
really
have
have to. I
to.
enjoyed this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can
Yeah,
see
for
it's
sure.
bedtime for you guys. So I'm gonna blow you kisses, and we will connect in the new year about
Mm,
yes, about another episode. So thank you so much for your time.
I love what you're doing. I'm
Thank you.
so happy that you're creating a space for not just for women to explore these topics, but also I know, you come from such from a background of people that are religious and stuff, and for you to have this courage, this step
Mm,
outside of the box and create a safe space for these conversations, for people to be different and come from different backgrounds and have a safe space to discuss our commonalities as well as our
yeah.
polarities as well as our dualities. I
Yeah.
love that and I appreciate that so much that
Oh.
you have created this space. Thank you so much for that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. I will connect with you soon. Take
All right.
care. Have the best night and happy new year. Happy
Yes.
holidays.
You too. Happy
Thank
holidays,
you.
love.
Okay, go love on your babies. Bye.